Okay. Hi, everybody. It's Deborah and it's
Norma.
Yay! Good to see everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the Sphere of Being podcast, and we're here to care for those who care for others. And that's a really worthwhile thing to do. So whether you're a single parent or a mum or a dad, or if you're working and you're looking after a team, if you're a business owner and you've got employees, if you're a doctor, a dentist, a candlestick maker, it's everybody that looks after other people. And we're here to try and make things a little bit more jolly and to get us through those times when we think, you know what, there's not enough hours in the day. I'm feeling tired. Where did the weekend go? I'm back on the treadmill again. So we're just trying to help people as much as we can and give our support, because we've both been there. And I care for a team now. I used to care for my elderly mum, and Norma's been an absolute amazing superstar with managing in care homes and stuff. And now has his lovely grandkids and family and everything as well. So we speak from the heart. And you know, at the end of the day, we're not clinically trained or anything, but we've got a bit of life experience between the two of us. So yeah, that's good. And today we thought we'd talk about how to say no, because I know, many years I said yes to everything, and it was exhausting, and I felt guilty when I said I can't do stuff, and I felt that people would think that I didn't love them and I didn't care about them, and that I was mean and selfish, and that if I said no, people wouldn't want to do stuff with me, etc. And I didn't have any healthy boundaries, and that meant that everybody else ruled my life but me, and I was deeply unhappy because of it, and I felt very anxious and very stressed. So I don't know, Norma, have you got any experiences of when you should have said no but you said yes?
Few. It's quite a few, lad. I think we get into a routine of saying of not saying no, of just saying yes all the time without thinking about it, and then we overcommit ourselves. And overcommitment, whether it's in work or home, usually leads to underachievement, which then leads to us feeling lower and down, and then still trying to say yes, and just, and then we're known for saying yes, so we get more stuff. And there are ways, aren't there, of saying no without offending, without feeling guilty. And it's when you realize that by saying no a few times, you actually become more productive, you become calmer and a better person for them that you are saying yes to. Because we do it, don't we? We just really want to help everybody, and then we do it at the detriment of ourselves. I mean, I've done it plenty of times, and I don't want to say no to my children. I don't want to say no to my grandchildren. And to be honest, they're fine if I say, well, actually, I can't do that because I'm doing that. Don't even have to offer an explanation. I can just say no. Can you come up have the children on Saturday, Mum? Sorry, no. Oh, okay. And off they go and find somebody else and do something else. So nothing really happens because we say no. People get more resourceful sometimes. They find something else, and then they know, because you're not saying no all the time. You're balancing it with a yes, that you are genuinely saying it because you've genuinely got something on, and they know. But it's just we get into that in ourselves, don't we? We internalize it, and we become that person that always wants to say yes because we want to give and love and care. And like you say, you just end up exhausted, Deborah, especially when you're doing it at work, and then you come home, you're still saying yes at home. And I used to leave work and go and pick my son up from his work, and then come back and then carry on with my work because it was on the phone, and I had emails and stuff I could do at home. And sometimes I'd be called in the night, but then I'd come home again to take him to it, and he didn't need me to. When you actually look at what you're saying yes to all the time, you can put a few no's in there. And if people are struggling with it, I would look at the easiest no to say. Somebody that you really don't have to say yes to because they really can cope, and they're coming to you because it's a quick fix for them. And oh yeah, Norma will do it, Deborah will do it. So we go, yeah, of course we will, and we take it on, and it's another thing to do, and then it's another thing less that we do for what we need to do, and then they really easily could find another way. And if you actually ask them, they will tell you. If you actually say, if I say no to this, what will they be able to do? Will they be able to do something else? Is there somebody else that can do it? Because let's face it, at the end of the day, if we wasn't here, they would have to get on with it, wouldn't they? They would have to find that other person, or people, whatever. And we're not doing it because we're mean and selfish. It makes us feel mean and selfish because we're overgiving. But when we actually, if somebody says no to me, I'm not offended. So why would somebody be offended because I said no to them? I think that's what I'm trying to say. Is, you know, we don't want people to feel guilty and bad how we feel. It gets quite complex, really, just saying two little words, no. But it's quite a spiritual act to say no and to claim back some of your time, some of your power, some of your energy. And then it makes you more resilient. So when you can give more then. So just by saying no, we actually become stronger, better, and can give more, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And the interesting thing as well is it's my firm belief that if we say yes too many times to somebody doing certain things for them, they don't learn how to do it for themselves.
That's true, yeah.
And sometimes I'd be the one that friends would ask, oh, could you ring up so and so and say this, that, and the other? Or could you do that because I don't like it? And you go, yeah, all right. I'll, you know, like when we used to go when I was younger, like booking holidays and stuff like that. And it always ended up me doing everything, booking a hotel, making sure everything was on my shoulders, getting all the money in. And we all know how difficult it can get people paying the money in, organizing all the events, making sure everybody had a restaurant and food that they liked. And in the end, I'm like, everybody else is just swanning up. And at the airport, I'd be like, well, I've got the itinerary. I'm doing this. Now, this time we need to go on this coach to get to this thing. And then this is what we need to do when we're there. And I'm like, hang on a minute. I'm not getting paid to do this.
Yeah.
And
Thing is, so you can become quite resentful.
Yeah. And then somebody
come
up to me. Yeah. And they go, oh, I don't like my hotel room. And I'm like, right. Do you know what? I did with one person one time. Don't like my hotel room. Don't like the view. Why didn't you organize it for a better view?
Right.
And I'm like, and do you know what I did? I said, oh, I do a swap with you.
The breath.
I know, I know. And they're like, oh, all right. And I'm like, hang on a minute, kiddo. You've organised everybody's holiday. If they'd managed to, you know, get themselves on the ball, they could have helped you. They could have organised stuff. I didn't organise my room to be the best room. It wasn't the best room, but obviously they didn't like theirs. And I'm like, why did I do that? And you know what? When I put myself up as a doormat, it's not surprising people walked all over me because that's what I did. And they weren't being horrible. It was just like, oh, you've not got, oh, didn't you know I didn't eat this? Or I told you on the thing that, you know, I was dairy free or whatever. And you think, oh, for goodness sake. You finally say it's not my fault. Well, I put it on the list. Oh, well, you sort it out then because it was your list.
Yeah. Thing is, if you've got 5 or 6 people all asking you to do something, they don't see the other 4 or 5, do they?
No.
Do you know what I mean? They only see their needs and they only want you to say yes to them because they probably think when we do say yes that we're free to say yes. And it's only us that know we've got the other few people that we've said yes to as well. And that they're quite oblivious to that. So, yeah. But I think when you do something like booking a holiday, you can become quite resentful of your time and your effort and everything, especially when they moan. You know, when they're saying about room, and then you go and put yourself down a peg there and actually swap rooms with them because you still want to make it right for them because it's a responsibility then, isn't it? You've took on their holiday, their happiness, their time out from work, their money, their joy at the detriment of yours. And you know, it's like saying, you know, tech with me, it doesn't matter, but it does matter, and it matters to every one of us, doesn't it? We all matter. And I think it's a way that we need sometimes to just look at how much you're saying yes to, but realizing that that person only sees their yes. So I'm being aware, really, I suppose, in some way. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I do it. I wouldn't like to think I do it all the time. But how many people I ask for things, and if I'm aware that they might be getting a bit overstretched because they have got the things behind the scene. But we are responsible to say our own no, aren't we? We are responsible for ourselves to say no. It's just sometimes not that easy. And the feelings afterwards can feel guilty. If we could have said, yeah, well, we could say yes, we would. But if we really can't do something and then we say no and something happens, we then go into a thing of, I could have perhaps prevented that if I'd have said yes. So then it's like compound your guilt, doesn't it? Of, oh, I can't say no because look what might happen. What if? Well, what ifs? Don't be thinking what ifs. You know, that's another tricky thing, isn't it? But yeah, to have all that responsibility by doing something good that then turns out to be a stress is it becomes quite daunting, really, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and I was always the one that would take on extra work at work,
Mm,
and goodness me, the things I've done in my time, and I'd be the one giving up the weekends, getting late into the night, finishing stuff, etc., because I just didn't know the boundaries. And
mm,
actually, when I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I used to go to the support group for alcoholics. So it's called Al Anon, and it's the support group to people who've got alcoholics and addicts
mm,
in their life. And one of the things where was a sort of like a common theme in that when you're dealing with people, especially if they're vulnerable in some way, the boundaries, then you feel like you've got to try and sort them out. You've got to try and make sure that their life is as comfortable as
mm,
possible, and sometimes to the detriment, or often to the detriment of my own. And ultimately, that then doesn't give the person the empowerment to work through it themselves. And they were saying that actually, albeit that for me anyway, I perceived it as coming from a good place, they said it was a bad habit because it didn't give the opportunity to the person that I was doing it for to
mm,
take responsibility of their own lives, their own actions, and to deal with it. And I wouldn't ever want anybody to suffer. But again, I
mm,
do know that somebody that I knew who was not really able to look after an animal, they got themselves a dog because of the companionship. But I had that dog more than they did because, oh, could you look after the dog? Could you look after? And I used to say to them, didn't you realize that you'd have all these commitments before you got the dog? And it's like, well, yeah, but I can't get out of it now. It's a work thing or what have you. You knew full well,
mm,
they were pushing it a bit, and I genuinely liked the dog, but that wasn't the point. But all the time I looked after it, they could then abdicate responsibility. And then I used to worry, what happens if anything happened to the dog? What happens if I
mm.
went out and it got off the lead? And in the end, I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, give it a rest. So it's just like, oh, and
Sad.
when they went on holiday, could you look after the dog? And I'm like, and I never asked for any money. And I just thought, well, maybe I should have asked for some money. And I relayed this to the Al Anon people. And they went, why the heck are you doing that? And I went, because I thought I was being nice and helpful. And they went, no, you're not. You're allowing that person
Mm,
to not make the decisions that they took on when they made a decision to look after something. That is not your responsibility. They weren't a family member, they were just a friend. And I went, oh no, but again, I feel guilty if I don't do it. And they went, well, just say the next time, I'm actually doing something and I can't look
mm.
after the dog this time and see what happens. Well, I did it. And they went, oh, all right then.
I know you get yourself into that sort of knot, don't you? Internal twisting and knotty stomach feeling. And they say, okay. And you think, oh. So what do I do with this anxiety I've got now then? Where's that going to go? Because they're absolutely fine.
I know.
And yeah, and we'll just take the dog with us then. Imagine saying that. You'd be like, what? Just take the dog with you. Yeah.
Because
No,
I've got
it is
more,
tricky.
yeah, I think I've got it all in my head. And I think that's the one thing about saying no, that I put all this story up. If I said no and
Mm,
that this would happen and that would happen, and I catastrophize things or I
mm,
project. And like you said, it might not happen. So,
mm,
and again, I used to be the one that friends used to come from, and I'd never see anybody out of pocket or homeless or anything. I just wouldn't. That's not me. But oh, my rent's due and I can't afford it this month. And if I got the money or I got a bit, I'd always give them the
mm.
money. And then on one occasion, this lady had decided that I was a cash machine, I think. And so
Ouch.
regular rent was being paid by me. And it was very then difficult for me to get it back because I don't like asking for stuff like that. And
Mm.
then on Facebook, I see she's gone away on holiday.
Oh, thanks, Deborah.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, ah. So she came back and I thought, I can't not say anything. This is mad. So I said, to this lady, I said, well, I saw you on holiday. Yeah, it was really good. And I went, yeah, but you owe me X, Y, and Z. Well, I needed a holiday.
Well, you work and pay the rent.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh my
again, the next time the rent was due, and I finally got the money back. And the next time she said, "Oh, I'm in a really bad way. I need," and I went, "Not this time. No."
no, no more.
And you know
Enough's
what?
enough, isn't
And again, she just went, "Oh, all right then." I
it? Yeah,
didn't say anything.
sometimes people find another thing, don't they? They find another cash machine. They find another person to say yes to. That when you stop, they find somebody else because they gravitate to that type of person, and they'll always find somebody to help because there's so many people that really want to help that can't say no, isn't there? There's thousands, so
Yeah,
they will find
yeah,
somebody else. Yeah, which is a shame. They'll either find somebody else or they'll start dealing with their issues because obviously there's an issue there if that's the type of thing that they're doing, whatever is wrong. So we don't really help all the time if we don't say no, do we? I suppose I'm trying to say that it's, we're saying yes all the time, and like you say, you actually hindering people from becoming resilient, becoming resourceful, becoming expanding their horizons and doing other things, or just seeing things in another way. We're not responsible for them, but we tend to take that on because we can, because we do, whatever like that. But it just gets trickier, doesn't it? It's as time goes on, and then when money's involved, that's another one. Another one where people, I think, find it really difficult to say no is at work, when people keep loading up your in tray, and you're looking at it thinking, right, okay, so I'm one person, and I've got 10 jobs, and you're giving me number 11. So which one out of the 10 am I putting down to put number 11 in? So it's just, yeah, crazy. But this ways of saying it, isn't it? I can do that, but there's something else I'll have to leave. And people can't take offense from that, surely, because we can't do it all, can we? We are just one person. So
well, you're very true. I had a boss once, and he used to say, before he give me the work, this is only 2 3 minute job. He said, I'll just give this to you because it's only 2 3 minute job. Yeah, right. It was 2 3 minutes of you talking about, because it was just
mm,
like 20 minutes by the time you'd managed to get everything sorted. And he would just constantly go, it's just a 2 3 minute job. And I used to sit there, and each time he'd come past my desk, I'm like, please keep going, please keep going, please don't
mm,
stop at my desk, please don't stop at my desk. So anyway, he always invariably did. And I think the office knew, but they were so grateful he wasn't coming to them
yeah,
that they didn't say
there's a
anything
queue of
to me.
people doing it.
Yeah.
The
And
queue of you going, no, not me today.
yeah. And so anyway, there was one day, and I've been tying myself up in knots over this again. And I'm like, how am I going to say to him? I just can't do anymore. It's just, because it wasn't planned work. He just dumped it on you. And so I said, oh, well, I won't say his name, but I said, oh, well, I said, I would have loved to. I said, but with all of the other jobs that you've given me, I've just no way of completing anything else for a good couple
Mm,
of days now. And he looked at me like, mm. But you know what? He knew. He knew
mm,
what he was doing. He
yeah,
knew that if I'd kept on and on saying yes, he would have just carried on giving me. And so, actually, oddly enough, he went, oh, all right. And he looked at me, and I thought, well, what can I do? I haven't got through
mm,
all these 2 3 minute jobs for like a whole
yeah,
week because they're much longer. And I felt quite proud of myself in that way, because I
yeah.
felt that I put myself in a situation which was not necessarily me first, but I was looking after myself and my well-being.
Yeah, this is a thing, Deborah, isn't it? We have to put ourselves first, and then, like you said, we put into ourselves first. We organise a time. We know what we do. We know how much work we can take on. Putting them soft boundaries out, in that we spoke to about on other podcasts and things that when we do all that sort of work and stuff, then we do get work that we manage. And we can't. If you start saying no to it, you're not going to get that overburden and all the things you start feeling with it. Um, like I say, people will just keep putting on, and then you become to the person that does everything. And then, if anything, if you go off sick or you become not incompetent at your job so much, but not get meeting your own deadlines, then that looks like you're failing at your work. And it's just from not saying no, isn't it? You know what I mean? We can look
Mm.
like, well, she's not managing a workload. But it's not managing because I've got 3 people's workload. You know what I mean? Because I keep saying yes. So it knows like a protection in a way, isn't it? If that's my limit. And it's knowing your limits and then taking that power and strength to say no. We don't need to be offensive with it. People, I think when you say no, people think, oh, we have to be offensive and go, oh, I'm not doing that. We don't at all. We can just say, actually, I'm at my limit there. You know, like I say, I can move something and pop it in and do it for you. Or, you know, if you can find somebody else that's more suited to it or whatever. Because sometimes you can get a job that's really not for you. And somebody gives me a techie job, I'm out the door because I'm not very good with tech, as we know.
Yeah.
But you know, I'd try if I could, and I'd like to learn it. But if I can't do that first, then I have to say no to them type of things. I have to pass that to somebody else because it just makes me look and feel worse because I'm not coping, I'm not delivering. And it does have that knock-on effect to your own personality, your standards and everything, doesn't it? And you know, people could lose a job over it if you keep doing it. And what happens when that vacancy comes? You know, somebody else, the work gets distributed out, and you know, somebody goes on holiday, somebody goes off sick, it gets done anyway. So we just take on this burden. So you've got like your friends, your family, your work, other social things, booking holidays, like you say. There's so many things that we don't say no to that it'd just be so much easier. So much
Yeah.
easier to say no.
And the other thing is as well, when I've been in jobs where literally you're doing the job of two and a half people in one job, and you're trying to make all of the things good, etc., and killing yourself in the
Mm.
process, it's actually stopping the organization from saying, do you know what? We either need to increase our
Yeah,
price margin to be able to afford
yeah.
something because we haven't got enough capacity. But the more I was taken on, I wasn't making that a problem of theirs because they
Mm.
thought, oh, well, that's all being done. And the fact that it
Yeah.
was killing me,
Well,
well,
that's
because
an
I was
amazing.
the type of person that didn't say very much and didn't complain, they thought everything was fine. Literally, they did think everything was fine. Yeah.
Thing is, I mean, like you say, that knock on a business effect as well. I mean, that could be somebody else. They might need to take on for that volume of work. They might need to take on a part-time person. So it's, you know, they like you say, they're not aware of it. They can't deal with it, and they're just saying, "Can you do that as well?" And walking off and busy themselves and totally forget they've even said it. And then you're trying to do it, and it could be like two people's job or one and a half people's jobs, and we're stopping somebody else being employed because we're taking it on and feeling, you know, probably working a little bit more and not getting paid for it. You know, and you don't feel valued because we don't get the thank you and the appreciation half the time that when we do something and we're saying yes to stuff. If it's appreciated, that fuels the yes, doesn't it? You know what I mean? If somebody says, oh, I really did appreciate that and it really mattered and made a difference, you think, oh, well, that was worth me getting stressed for, or that was worth me saying yes to. But if you just say yes all the time and you don't even get a thank you, then really it's like just a stress, isn't it? It's not like a fueled sort of emotion where you think, no, well, actually, yeah, that's great. That, you know, I feel better for doing that and saying yes. So
Mm.
it's looking at who appreciates you as well, who you're going to say no to, isn't it? If they don't appreciate you, you're not grateful for what you do, stop doing it. Just say, I'm sorry, no more. You know, because we're not helping people, are we, all the time by saying yes? But like you say, with workloads like that and the business itself, if they're not aware of it, then you know you leave for something else. You go off stress. People end up being what to call it, you know, when they end up leaving because of stress or they retire
Mm.
on sickness reasons, and then they wonder why. And then they suddenly realise because it takes somebody new on who has to learn and can't even do the first job, let alone two people's work. And then they're oh, right, okay. And it's too late. Somebody's burnt out and stressed and done with. You know, it's, yeah, it's a massive, massive thing, really, isn't it? All for a little
Well,
word.
yes, no, exactly. Two letters, N-O, no.
Mm,
And you're right, there's a way of doing it. The thing is, as well, I've always found that the best relationships in the sense of business or whatever, or friends, if you start off the way that you mean to go on,
mm,
it's much easier then than having to try and go back after you've already number of
mm,
years been somebody who said yes, yes, yes to everything. But I think that in itself as well is something which, as we all grow and develop in our lives, because we don't remain the same, do we? We
no,
all
God, no, not at all.
change. Um, is actually with that change, you don't have to do it all overnight, but
Mm,
I've always found it's little steps to saying, no, not this time. I'm not available. You go ahead and do it because I did it last time. I want a break this time. I don't really feel I can organize
mm,
everything. It wouldn't be right even if I did. If I did it, I'd be making mistakes and people wouldn't be happy.
mm,
So let them know. oh, right, well,
Yeah.
everybody wants it organized well, so you know what? Yeah, yeah, you're best not doing it. And the other thing is as well, I don't now sit and complain about stuff. So if I have taken on something and I said I do it without complaint.
Hmm. Yeah,
Because
and then you
I
feel
used to
better, don't
moan
you?
about it
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it's that negative downward spiral, isn't it? Of, oh, too much overburden, not appreciated, saying yes, here to go again, me. And now look at this, look at all my work. And then you're not getting it done because we're moaning. Do you know what I mean? There's one way somebody told me once to say no for the future. And that is to say, on this occasion I can do it, but after this I won't be able to. So then they do it once and you never do it again. And I
that's all
thought
right.
that's really useful, isn't it? Really useful to think,
On
yeah,
this
and I can do it on
occasion,
this
okay, but
occasion.
I won't
Yeah,
be able to do it again.
I'll do my best, but I'm probably not the best person for the job. But on this occasion, I'll do it. But after that, I'll have to be saying no. I'll probably not, and it's not hard no, then, is it? I mean, sometimes it takes hard no, doesn't it? Can you do? Can you do? No. Oh, okay. She's not going to do it. But
I like
perhaps,
that.
yeah, perhaps there's
Mm.
levels of no. We have to have a think about that one. Levels of no, like nice no's, like, oh, you're joking, aren't you? Not me. Oh, no. With a big range in between, and a big range in between of, pick which no you want because it's still a no.
It's still a no. Yeah.
Yeah, every time you ask me, it's going to get meaner. It's going to go to the mean end of no until it's just a no.
Oh, bless you.
Sorry, I'm playing,
Well,
aren't I? Playing.
well, actually, you're quite right because when you do say no, and I've been guilty of this, I've said no and then I've said yes
Hmm.
because I didn't hold firm to what I said at the beginning. And it only took on, oh, go on, oh, go on. And
Yeah,
I go, oh, all right then. And then people know that you're a pushover. So they
yeah,
know that you're going to be the first one they go to for the next delegation of what they
yeah.
don't want to do, what they've said no to. And it's just like, oh, if I say no, I've got to mean no and I've got to
Mm,
stick to it.
yeah,
And I've got to be happy that I've said it and that I'm sticking to it. Because if I did, like you said, if I did do it, it wouldn't be right anyway, because
yeah,
I wouldn't have been able to devote the time to do it correctly. So that I think that's a really good thing for me. I know I am guilty still of going no. And then if the person comes back and goes, oh, really? I'll go,
yeah,
oh, all right then. But it's not, is it? I've got to work on that
yeah,
decision, be happy with it and stick with it.
yeah.
And
And if you commit, then you're committed, aren't you? Like you say, without moaning. What was coming in my mind then, making me giggle a bit, was I don't know if you've seen Father Ted.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
where she says, have a cup of tea. No, thank you. Go on, go
go
on,
on, go
go
on,
on,
go on,
go
go
on.
on. Yeah.
Until in the end, yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like, imagine saying, like, go and ask Norma or Deborah. They said no. Well, go and ask Deborah 3 times and Norma 4 times, and then they'll say yes. But don't
Yeah.
refuse a cup of tea.
I mean, I remember as a kid, actually, I mean, I wouldn't have pushed this very often because of my household, but
Mm,
I do remember one time there was a pair, talk about the eras changing. There was a pair of little red patent shoes in the shoe shop window, and I must have only been about 7, and I got a little fancy to these shoes. And I remember my mum saying, "Oh, it's school shoe time," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to get those red shoes." Don't know why I thought that, but I just thought those red shoes would be mine.
dream.
And I went in and I went, "Oh, can I have the red shoes? Can I have the red shoes?" And she said, "No." So I pushed it and I pushed it. Well, then she gave me a smack bum, and that made me cry. And then she gave me another smack bum for crying, which now
Okay.
it's not the parenting skill that you probably deployed, but anyway, back in the day. And I learned very quickly that when my mum said no, she meant no,
Mm,
and that in the end, I didn't question it.
yeah.
However, looking at people and being in business development a lot, there is the element of when I do get a no from somebody, especially if I'm trying to get a meeting with them or that, they're looking at my service and they say no. I then go back and go, well, what makes you say that?
Mm,
and actually start to understand their reason. Because some people do say no without thinking about it because of
Mm,
conditioning or the way that they've always thought. And sometimes it doesn't hurt just to push a bit from our sides if we get told no, because a no might not be an emphatic no. And also,
mm,
if we know that something would benefit somebody, not in a manipulative way, not trying to force our will on anybody, but on a way in which you think, a bit like exercise or something. If you know somebody's struggling either to lose weight or
mm,
to come to terms with a health condition where medically or what have you, they know they should be getting a little bit more exercise, it could be a little bit rainy, and somebody goes, oh, I'm not going to go out. That could be worthwhile in that case, just seeing, okay, well, what do you think about, even if it were like 5 minutes, what do you reckon? That sort of thing. And
yeah.
trying to off them up. Only if I can see that there's a positive reason, because otherwise it's like fixing again and trying to force my will on somebody.
Mm,
Now I don't try and do, because I know that's pointless. Um, but often people get, oh, all right then. And when they're out and they've done it, they feel good because they've pushed themselves and they feel that they've achieved something. And then when they come back, they go, oh, I'm pleased I did that, or oh, actually, I'm much better for doing that now. So I think there's an element of having like that little questioning about sometimes about that no when we're asking people if they'll do something for us.
mm.
But as we know, sometimes people aren't quite like we are, which is giving and kind and wanting the best for people. They just want a shot of it for themselves and they don't try
Yeah,
and put it
just
on
get rid.
you.
There's somebody else to do that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, and we're coming up for time
Yeah,
almost,
I
but
know. Where does it go?
I know these things go so quick. It's amazing. Norma, have you got any thoughts on, you couched a bit about how to say no in the best kind of like nice way.
Mm.
Um, have you any feedback from the people that you've actually done that with, what the response was?
Well, in my personal life, people just tend to go and find other ways to do it, or find somebody else to do it for them. In work ways, if somebody says no to something I'm offering, one of my offers, then I can adjust them, I can adapt them. It might not just be the right time for them. So don't take it personally if somebody does say no. I actually don't have a no list in business. I have a yes and a not yet. So,
That's
because I
good.
just wait for the time to be right, because I've every faith that somewhere along the line, even if it's just like a little course or a speaking event or something, that if I can help people, they'll be there and I'll be led to them properly, because obviously I believe in the universal mind. So I do believe that what's for me will come. So I don't like the word no on my list for work, because that's like a cut off and it's like a definite dead end. So I
Yeah.
keep it as a not yet. So keep
No,
it
no,
friendly,
it's
keep it light, and don't feel bad about it when you do it. Think how you feel if somebody
absolutely.
says no to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a very, very powerful word, and with kids growing up, or, all those bad things that can happen, as they say, just say no is a very good thing, because
Mm,
waver on something that's really not good for you and it could change the course of your life
yeah,
for the great.
definitely. Sometimes it's a safety net now, isn't it? It's a no for safety.
Yeah. So, well, thanks everybody. Thank you, Norma. It's been great
Okay,
again.
loved
And
it.
we'll see you again soon. We'll be doing the power of saying yes.
Yeah.